Yeah, we are back with a vengeance. This is episode 4, where we are refurbishing and super detailing a vintage Lionel post-war NW2 locomotive. This far, we've been working on the outer shell, and this episode, we get closer to Union Pacific 1081. Hi, my name is Doug, and I am thrilled to have you here today. We're going to replace the driving wheel on today's episode. We'll install a new Magna Traction axle, update a worm gear, and we're going to swap rail rollers. Please keep your hands and feet inside the vehicle at all times. Let's begin. You know, one of the things I love about these post-war Lionel locomotives, the one we're looking at right now is around 70 years old, yet parts are still widely available. One of the driving wheels was broken probably during a fall in the past. Even though I used the proper wheel puller, trying to remove it was kind of a trick. I ended up bending the axle, so I had to get a new one of those, and I decided to get a new worm gear also. Lionel recommends using one of their wheel presses to put wheels back on, but as you see, a very inexpensive vise works just fine. But what you didn't see, I committed the cardinal sin. I forgot to put the little gear behind the wheel before I tightened it down. So I had to take the wheel off again, put the gear in, and now all three work simultaneously. Most of the time when you're cleaning the 70 years of gunk off trucks and motors, you don't need a total teardown. You can use solvent to get grease out of those bearings. And now that we have that done, we took out the old grease, we're going to put in the new grease. I use the Tamiya ceramic grease that works really, really well. Let's take off the truck covers and expose something that probably hasn't been exposed in 70 years, the wheels themselves. And for that task, you don't need any fancy cleansers, just use soap and water and a good old toothbrush. All right, time to put on some new track rollers. Ready to roll right down Electric Avenue. If you remember back to episode 1, we started out with the Lionel 6220 NW2 diesel unit, and it was very well worn. One part that continues to work, and I'm happy for that, is the little bell ringing mechanism. The bell ringing feature on the 620 and the 6220 didn't last very long. It became an annoyance for people running the trains on their layout, so a lot of them chose to pull some of these parts out, so there are quite a few that don't ring anymore. I'm fortunate to have a couple of these engines that still ring, and will still be able to spread the joy of that annoying bell to future generations. Great old post-war Lionel motors are such good quality, it's not really necessary to take them apart. That reliable WD-40 works great to dissolve away that old grease, and then look how smooth. This NW2 locomotive has seen a lot of time on the layout because there are a few things that are wrong. First of all, on one of the ends, you'll see that the ground fitting is missing. On the other, well, we're going to take that one off as well. We're going to put in some brass parts that are going to resemble the front and the rear much better. High-end locomotives of the modern era don't really have these exposed rivets and screws like these old units did. So we're going to remove those rivets and then fill them in with some putty. When we come back for the next episode, we are going to put super details on this chassis. This sad, dog-eared locomotive keeps getting better and better. If you want to ride the rails with me, remember to subscribe.